Innovative drone surveillance by Ukrainian defenders exposed Russian troops concealed in local water pipes, leading to a decisive engagement that saw Kyiv's forces reclaim key areas in Chasiv Yar's contested terrain. Today, there are a lot of updates from the Bakhmut direction. The most interesting news comes from the southern flank of Chasiv Yar. Here the Russians launched a series of attacks to use the canal crossing to enter the Novi district. However, Ukrainians not only repelled these assaults and also launched a series of counterattacks, successfully pushing Russians off the canal crossing altogether. Nazar Voloshin, spokesperson for the Ukrainian Courtitsia group of forces, stated that Russian fighters made no gains on the western side of the canal. The Ukrainians have established a line of powerful fortifications along the canal, which are concealed within the forest and consist of dugouts and trenches. For this reason, the Russians decided to exploit the local network of water pipes to covertly accumulate forces. Their plan was to launch surprise assaults from the pipes with large numbers of troops simultaneously. The goal of this new tactic was to help establish a bridgehead on the western side of the canal, enabling direct assaults on the Novi district. Unfortunately for the Russians, the Ukrainians maintained constant surveillance and reconnaissance over the pipes using drones. Combat footage shows the Ukrainians employing thermal cameras on drones to detect Russian troops within the pipes, and they then used drone-dropped grenades to target small gaps in the pipes, effectively eliminating the Russian soldiers with precision. Additionally, the drones provided accurate coordinates for mortar operators to strike the pipes and create breaches, allowing drone operators to engage the Russians moving inside. As a result of the well-coordinated and precise operations by Ukrainian forces, the pipe network became a graveyard for Russian troops, leading to a halt in further assaults. The heavy Russian losses from these failed attempts created an opportunity for the Ukrainians to launch a counterattack, but geo-located footage shows a Ukrainian armored vehicle operating on the eastern side of the canal crossing. While nearby, a network of trenches abandoned by the Russians was subsequently taken by Ukrainian infantry who dismounted from their vehicles. This Ukrainian counterattack aimed to relieve pressure on the canal district by establishing a supply corridor via the canal crossing linking up with Ukrainian forces in the high rises. The footage confirms that Ukrainians secured a portion of the forest to the canal east of the canal crossing along with the crossing itself. This success was facilitated by the significantly reduced number of Russian troops holding these positions, as many had been killed during their failed attempt to amass an attack force in the water pipes. Overall, the Ukrainian forces successfully repelled the Russian assaults on the Novi district utilizing superior tactics and well-coordinated counterattacks. The Russian failure to cross the canal and establish positions on the other side resulted in severe losses, allowing the Ukrainians to exploit weaknesses in their defenses. Furthermore, Ukrainian counterattacks can widen the supply corridor to the canal district, using the canal crossing to resupply the strongholds in the high rises. This could lead to a point where Russian assaults against these strongholds lose momentum, setting the stage for further Ukrainian counterattacks to push the Russians back to their starting positions, effectively clearing them out of the canal district. As mentioned in my previous reports, Russian forces reached the canal crossing south of the town to launch an attack on the Novi district, but their assault units were quickly surrounded and eliminated, leading the Russian commanders to abandon this plan. However, recent limited Russian gains in the canal district prompted Russian commanders to attempt another attack on the Novi district by capturing high-rise buildings in the eastern part of the canal district. The Russians reduced Ukrainian fire control over the region. With the Ukrainian fire suppressed, Russian vehicles could deploy more troops to the southern flank via roads instead of relying on foot deployment through the forest. This allowed Russian forces to move into the area more quickly and in greater numbers, and also facilitated more efficient resupply of their forces through newly established ground lines of communication. Russian command intensified assaults on the Novi district, aiming to cut off Ukrainian positions in the high-rise buildings in the western part of the Canal district. Advancing in the Novi district became an appealing option for Russian forces because the area is comprised entirely of residential houses, which are easier to destroy and capture compared to the reinforced high-rise buildings in Canal. The Russians cannot use glide bombs to suppress Ukrainian positions in Canal because their own troops are holding positions there as well. This need to avoid friendly fire prevented the Russians from launching further frontal assaults in the Canal, leading them to focus their efforts on the Novi district instead. To advance on Novi, Russian forces would first need to establish a bridgehead on the western side of the canal and secure positions in the nearby forests. If successful, assaulting Novi would allow the Russians to target the roads connecting the western and eastern parts of the town, which are separated by the canal. This would disrupt Ukrainian supply lines to the Canal district, potentially forcing Ukrainian fighters to withdraw from the area. For this reason, Russians will likely use the captured repair plant to the north to launch attacks toward the bridges on the canal to cut off the road, supplying and reinforcing the Ukrainians in remaining positions. Because of the very unfavorable positions that Russian troops found themselves in, they might have to withdraw to the other side of the canal and blow up all bridges over it. If the remaining positions in the district fall to the Ukrainian fighters, there is a barrier in the form of the canal right behind the building. Overall, the battle for the northern flank of Chasiv Yar has seen intense Russian attempts to secure positions, notably in Kalinivka, which have been effectively countered by Ukrainian forces using advanced tactics. Despite significant destruction in the Canal district due to Russian bombardments, Ukrainian defenders have managed to retake and hold critical positions.